Welcome to the Next Level Human podcast. As a human, you have a job to do. In fact, you have 4 jobs: to earn and manage money, to attain and maintain health and fitness, to build and sustain personal relationships, to find meaning and make a difference. None of these jobs are taught in school, and that is what this podcast is designed to do: to educate us all on living our most fulfilled lives through the mastery of these 4 jobs. I'm your host, Dr. Jade, and I believe we are here living this life for 3 reasons, and 3 reasons only: to learn, to teach, and to love. In this podcast, I will be learning, teaching, and loving right along with you. I'm grateful to have your company. Here's to our next level. What's going on, everybody? I'm here with my good friend, Teri Murray. Actually, it's been a while since her and I saw each other. We met years back at what was it? We met at CrossFit, right? At CrossFit. Yep, CrossFit Sandbox, which is no longer in business, unfortunately, but a lot of lovely people that I made close friends with. And Teri and I got to get close while I was in Los Angeles. And we're just going to include you guys in a conversation. We're going to see if this works. So you moved into the health and fitness space, huh? Get me caught up on what's going on with you.
Yeah, well, it's something I've always kind of wanted to do, but I had a day job. I still kind of have a day job, but I've been in medical device sales for my career, and but I've always maintained some sort of passion for health and fitness. CrossFit. I was a yoga instructor for many years, and I've just always done these goals where I set a goal for the year. And so I set a goal maybe 3 years ago, for my daily walk. And then that kind of took off, and I can talk about that in a minute, but that really brought me back to this passion. And I decided to dig in and actually get credentialed, certified, learn more about proper nutrition, I was always eating pretty well, but really understanding what I needed, making sure I'm getting the omega-3s, and my ratio of 6 to 3 was right, and things like that. So now I'm certified to coach people for health and wellness, as well as I have my master certification for life coaching. So just helping people get unstuck in life and professional.
Most important aspect of what we do is the mindset stuff. Let me ask you, because you alluded to, you made a pretty big, like, I've always seen you as pretty damn fit. Like, to me, you were never out of shape or overweight. And I know the way we all look at ourselves, though, we could be harsher on ourselves. And you alluded to the fact that you made a pretty big transformation recently. And so when did that start? And I think it'll be a good opportunity to, just me hearing about sort of your process and educating some of the listeners on that. And then me and you just talking shop about, what this takes for some of the coaches. Because on my podcast, a lot of people are health and fitness professionals. But yeah, so tell me what went on with you. And, because you and I probably have not talked, since way before COVID, I think. So it's been a bit.
Yeah. Like in early COVID you kind of helped me through a transition. And that's when this started, honestly, a relationship transition. But I've always been in fitness. I mean, I was a gymnast as a 2-year-old and just always been an athlete. So I've always had injuries, which kind of derail me. My knees have been shot for many years. I used to be a runner, obsessed with, loved running, cannot run anymore. If I decide to go running, my knees hate me for 3 days. So that was a hard transition, but that's how I started walking, and for a long time it was like, walking, that's a rest day.
Yeah. What the hell is that going to do?
And I will tell you that putting a daily walk into my life has completely changed my life in every way, like emotionally, physically, spiritually, just energy, just everything, weight. So yeah, that's been kind of the thing that I think is amazing too, is that I'm a normal I'm a 44-year-old woman with a full-time career. I am not, I travel for a living too, for work. So I'm 1K, which is the top status on United for like 10 years straight. I'm lifetime platinum on Marriott. Like I'm literally live on a plane. So to have to be able to put this into my life has been work and dedication, but it's completely paid off. But, I don't want people to think I'm some 25-year-old, which clearly you can tell I'm not. But, fitness is my entire life. I get paid to work out. That's not my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's helped inspire a lot of people in my circle is seeing how I've been able to embrace this consistency and then seeing the transformations. Like people can see how different I look because yes,
Yeah.
I'm 5'10". So and I'm muscular. So when I'm up 10, 15 pounds, it's evenly distributed. I'm a critic on myself, but from somebody else, you might not notice it as much. You can tell I put on 5 to 10, but it was really 10 to 15, whatever. But I mean, people that hadn't seen me in a while are like, whoa, because I leaned out and that was the walk.
All right, so let's break this down because it's something I also discovered, mainly not for myself. I discovered it in my clients first, years and years ago. And like you, I was just like, surely this is useless walking. But I discovered this idea because I started to understand metabolism is mostly about stress management. And walking tends to be an amazing stress management tool, taking the stress off the system. So when most people think of this, I think they first start going, okay, so is this about just walking a ton? How do I start? And so when you first started making this commitment to walking, what was it? Were you just like, oh, I'm just going to walk a little more? Did you set like daily step goals? Like how did
Yeah,
it begin?
it began going through a breakup, and I went back to the East Coast to family right away, per our conversation. And the town I grew up in is very hilly. It's the town people go to run and walk. And so I just decided to go for a walk one day in July 2020. And I felt great. I went the next day. And then it started to be like, I'm going to start walking. And then I started to it was clearing my mind. And I was using that time to listen to podcasts, to audiobooks, just things that were like helping me get through the breakup and in that transition of next steps. But then it quickly turned into completely different things. Like I was getting through the breakup super quick that I was like onto other things. And then I'd miss a day here or there, but I started to really notice how much like calmer I was, how much like my anxiety, I'm a very anxious person. I run hot and it was like brought down where like things that would have set me off. I was like, okay. And I could see that in myself and people could see that in me. And I started to lose a little bit of weight. So then I started to try to go a little bit more. So then it was like 3 miles, then it was 4 miles, then it was 5 miles. Then once I had 5 miles, some days I'd do 6 or 7, but I knew 5 was an achievable goal, but also a stretch. For me, 3 is easy. 5, actually, I have to sacrifice a little bit more time. So that's how I got to 5. And also being a runner, I used to run 3 miles. And I realized I burned the same amount of calories walking 5 than I did running 3. But it was so easy on my body that I could do it every day. I didn't need to recover. And so if I just didn't feel like walking one day, my rest day was I walked slower or I didn't walk hills. I walked flat. Like I just adjusted the walk, but the difference was I didn't not walk. I still got outside, got the fresh air, got the vitamin D, got the movement. And I will tell you, it got me through many hangovers. Like if you wake up and you're hungover, go through a 5-mile walk. And by the end of 5 miles, you're like, let's go. You're ready. Yeah. But yeah, so that started in July of 2020. And then I missed a day on November 28th of 2020 to go golfing about an hour away. And the next morning I went on my walk and I thought, why did I skip yesterday? I didn't need to skip yesterday. I could have made it work. And in that moment I said, I'm going to not skip. And I didn't really know how long it would be, but I just said, I'm not going to miss a day. I'm going to make this a priority. And today was 785 days that I have not missed 5 miles.
Wow.
So,
Teri,
over
that
2
is
years.
amazing. Well, you know what's so amazing about that? So I just want to repeat a couple things that I know you know, but let's just catch the listeners up. So if you're listening to Teri, first of all, this is someone who's super busy, travels a ton, right? So that is in itself, then she starts to walk. She didn't necessarily be like right away, I got to have these goals. It was kind of gradual. She got into this rhythm. And the cool
Hmm.
thing about it is that it's adjustable for her. So sometimes she just walks super slow or less. And if you're listening now, how many things do we do that you can do 700 plus days? So it's a doable thing. And the interesting thing I have found about walking too is that most people are resistant to it because it feels like work. And then they realize that one of the other things that Teri said, if we're listening to her, is that she's multitasking a lot of different things. So it wasn't just a walk and stress relief. It was also, sort of a library. She's reading, she's clearing her head, she's thinking about work. So I imagine if I'm listening to you, Teri,
Hmm.
and picking up everything, it made you more efficient, not less efficient. So it's sort of like, yes, it took some time, but you were making up, other time. It's like one of these things that's like, it is the only thing that you can multitask with where multitask actually works to your advantage.
Right. No, it's so true. And like any goal, if you set a goal, you want to lose weight or you want to get your MBA or you want to do something, it requires planning, discipline, consistency, sacrifice, and all of that I've had to do. So if I have a 7 a.m. flight, I'm up at 4 a.m. Like I've been in the hotel gym at 4 a.m. because I knew it was the only time in that entire day between traveling and work meetings that I would get that walk in.
And did
And
it
so if
make a
I knew
difference
I
for you, by the way? Like,
completely,
so getting up at 4 a.m., a lot of people would think, oh my God, she's going to be exhausted. But was that the
I
case, or
went to
were
bed
you?
earlier.
Yeah.
I knew I planned. I said, okay, I got to go to bed by 9. I can't have that extra glass of wine. So you plan ahead. Like I would book flights looking at my schedule going, well, when would I get to walk? And I would literally craft my schedule and block that time for myself. And that boundary that I set for myself that was, I think, the biggest game changer. The physical part is amazing, the stress release, but setting that boundary, going, this is my hour, takes me 75 minutes because I walk pretty fast. I do a sub 15-minute mile when I'm hauling ass. But it's that's my hour and you can't have it. There's 24 hours in a day. I'm allowed to have an hour. And that's the boundary that I try to help other people set, whether it's walking, yoga, writing, whatever your passion is that you end up putting on the back burner to take care of everything else in your life. You should focus on at least an hour for you and what's going to help recharge your battery. So yeah, that's that kind of carving out that hour. So sometimes I would have to take a work call, to multitask. But if work was stressing me out, I shut work out and my walk was to clear my head from work. So it could be both.
It's time to talk about one of our sponsors of today's episode, AG1 by Athletic Greens. Now, many of you have heard me say this before, but I am not a fan of vegetables, which I know is funny given I've been in the health and fitness industry for so long. I blame my mother and father for this. When I was a kid, what they would do was essentially take the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, the spinach, the collard greens, and just steam them. No salt, no fat, no taste whatsoever, just these bitter greens. And so I developed a distaste for a lot of different vegetables, which has stayed with me into adulthood. One of the things I've done to mitigate that is use a greens powder pretty much ever since greens powders have come out on the market. And I've tried every single one. They started out tasting like swamp water. I found a few that I really like the taste, but recently, one that I have been taking for a very long time, as you all know, I wear a continuous glucose monitor. I found that it was actually spiking my blood sugar because probably the tapioca starch in it, which some people don't respond to tapioca starch with elevated blood sugars. I was. And so it sent me on a mission to find another one. And one of my friends turned me on to AG1 by Athletic Greens. Now, I've heard about Athletic Greens and AG1 for quite some time. I just never tried it. And now that I have tried it, I have become a huge fan. So much so that I partnered with Athletic Greens and AG1 to sponsor this podcast. Now, let me tell you what happened here. After I saw that my blood sugars were spiking, my friend gave me a couple samples of AG1. I began using those and testing the blood sugar and found there was no spike. The other thing I found is that AG1 is interested in its taste profile. It's very neutral. The one I was taking before was a little sweet. I really loved it. But this one is very neutral, which actually suits me because what I found is I can actually not only take this first thing in the morning in water and have it taste very neutral, almost like there's nothing there. I can also add it into my protein shakes, which means now I'm getting double the greens that I was getting previously because I add this right into my protein shakes and it does not change the flavor of the shake at all. The other thing I realized once I started looking at the label is that this product is not simply a greens product. It also is a multivitamin, multimineral. It also has fiber, which acts as a prebiotic. It has probiotics in it, and it has functional mushrooms, which act as adaptogens in it. That's 4 different products essentially in one. And I've been taking mushrooms for some time. I stopped taking them now because now I have this in my greens. I have also taken my multivitamin and make this my multivitamin. So I'm actually saving money, and this is going to save you money as well. The product AG1 is also NSF certified. And you're going to say, Jade, what does that mean? The National Sanitation Foundation is a foundation that essentially does testing on products to make sure there are no harmful substances, no persistent organic pollutants, no heavy metals. Now, this costs money to do. AG1 and Athletic Greens has spent the money on this. They spend money on making sure that the product that you are getting is good quality without contamination in it. And you might say, well, Jade, isn't this true of all products? And actually, no, it is not. If you ever follow some of the news in this area through consumer labs and other things that do testing on these products, you'll see that many of them will have trace levels of things like mercury and cadmium and lead and things like that in them because they're not doing this testing. So this is an extra piece of insurance for us. The other thing I love about this product that I learned as I was doing my research on it is that this is the 52nd tweak or adjustment they have made to this product in their existence. AG1 has been tweaked 52 times. Now you might say, well, Jade, why would they be doing that? And the reason why is because they continue to improve. We know that science is evolving. We know that it's not just about more nutrients. It's about balanced nutrients. It's about the Goldilocks effect of this. And they are constantly learning, as we all are, and then constantly adjusting their product to taste better, to be more efficient and effective in delivering the nutrients. It acts as an antioxidant. It acts as a multivitamin. It's a prebiotic, a probiotic, and an adaptogen all in one. They have mastered this over several iterations of this particular product. And so I am a huge fan right now of AG1 and Athletic Greens. And I'm hoping that you will check this out. It's time for all of us to reclaim our health and arm our immune system with convenient daily nutrition. And AG1 does that with just 1 scoop in a cup of water every single day. That is all you need. There is now no longer a need for a million different pills and supplements to look after your health. All you need is this particular one. It really clears the stage to simplify your supplement regime. To make it easy for you, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/next level. That's athleticgreens.com/next level to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Check out AG1. I love it. I know you're going to love it. And I'm so happy that they are on board to sponsor the podcast as well. Thanks so much. Check out AG1, athleticgreens.com/next level. And let's get back to the show. So I call these, I know you know this, but I'll share this with the listeners. So one of the things that when you're doing life coaching, and this is why, by the way, those of you who are listening, that so many people are moving away from personal trainers and moving towards life coaches, and moving away from their physicians and moving towards life coaches, and why so many people are moving towards life coaching as a career versus going into medicine or going into personal training or these other things. And the reason why is because life coaching is kind of where the rubber meets the road. And we call these habits. If you can find these single things, and it's not always walking, but walking's a really good one. But what we look for as life coaches is we go, what is one thing that this person can do that is a keystone habit or a trickle down habit that makes all the difference in the world? So if we're listening to Teri, right, she chooses this one thing and she kind of eased her way into it. But once she started seeing the benefits, she's like, I'm going to prioritize this one thing. And then what happened was it trickled down to improving sleep. It trickled down to adjusting her alcohol intake. It trickled down to these other things because she simply said, this is the thing that where I'm going to stake my flag, right? And then all these other things that were, probably more priorities than she wanted them to be before she made walking the priority became were beneficially impacted. And so to me, when you're listening to Teri and I talk, take this rule. Now, it doesn't have to be walking necessarily, but walking is one of these really big ones that trickles down. Sleep, by the way, is also a really big one because, getting more sleep, can trickle down to other things. But it looks like Teri started with this walk and it began to trickle down in other ways. And so one thing I want to ask you, Teri, a lot of people go, well, how much should I walk? Do I need to do it Teri style? Now, remember, the other thing about life coaching is that we're all different. So I know a little bit about Teri, and she is a very hard driver. Like she's like, let's get stuff done. She's very good at her job. She's very, she's a little type A in that regard. And that's why she's so successful, right? So you don't have to do it Teri style. There are ways to do it other ways, like counting your steps and just accumulating those steps. You certainly don't have to turn it into a sub 15-minute mile. I'm a very slow walker. But that's the cool thing. If you're listening to her, she's adjust this. I'm sure sometimes Teri's probably going at my turtle speed, and other times she's going at her, her sprint speed. But it's infinitely adjustable. So I'm wondering, what tips do you have? Because I know a lot of people are now seeing your transformation and hearing about this and going, what do I do? And so what are you recommending when they're just like, I can't go for like 5 miles or 3 miles? What are you telling them?
Well, so the minimum that I think everybody should do if they want to, especially as you're going into middle age, we can't bounce back like we used to, right? Our bodies are slowing down, and is 20 minutes. Everybody can do something for 20 minutes a day, whether it's stretching, walking, biking, something, but moving your body for 20 minutes a day. If somebody tries to tell me they don't have 20 minutes, I will sit with you on your calendar and I will find it for you. And that's some of the coaching I've done is people always have excuses. And I used to have excuses. And that is what this is also how this has changed my life, is that I don't make excuses anymore. I know I have to get it done. I have to suck it up. I've gone out for drinks and been like, shit, I still got to walk. And I walk after a few drinks. Like it doesn't matter. I don't say, oh, well, I'm not going to do it today, because I know myself. I am type A. I'm all in, as you can see, or I'm like, forget it. So allowing myself to not beat myself up that I had to walk after a few drinks, or I had to split my walk up, between the day. I hurt my hip. I don't know what the heck I did to it, but I was limping. I wouldn't miss. I was like, I can't miss now. I'm at like 690 days. So I walked a mile, went home, stretched, rest, iced, chilled, walked a mile. Like I literally made sure that I counted 5 miles for the day, but I didn't do it in 5 miles, 15-minute pace. Like, so that was my compromise with myself, to listen to my body, but still not make an excuse, say, oh, I'm not going to do it today. Because if I missed one day, I knew I'd just miss another month. And that is what has kept my consistency. And the consistency is what has changed my life. Not, I walk sometimes. It's rain, shine, 4 a.m., hungover, doesn't matter. I show up for myself. And I will tell you, it has been 785 days and I have not been sick once. I have not gotten COVID, and I live on a plane and I don't wear a mask, and I have not even had a cold.
Wow.
And I eat pretty healthy, but I also drink alcohol and I have some pinkberry here or there, which is a lovely frozen yogurt, but I 100% believe it's my walk.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I know about you, because, you and I have done this before, we'll go have long lunches and sit there and we'll drink, and it's not like you're afraid of that. I'm not necessarily afraid of that either, but I think it's really interesting for people to hear perhaps someone who goes, Teri is oftentimes working, oftentimes talking to people. She will go out, she'll drink. She's not afraid of that stuff, but look at the results that she has gotten as a result of setting these boundaries. So now you're hearing some lessons, right? It's like, it doesn't have to be the walk, but you got to pick something. You really need to stick to it. In order for that to happen, it's got to be something that is a trickle down keystone habit that you will do, that is doable and hopefully adjustable as well. So the idea is, a lot of people will hear this and go, oh, walking, I got to, stick to a certain amount. No, you just have to pick something. Walking is a good one for a lot of people. And I do have one question about when you were in the cold and how you made that work. But you just have to pick something you can be consistent that is doable. So I oftentimes say, is that doable for you realistically? If you look forward at 3 to 5 years, do you see yourself still doing this at this level? And, I think your answer is obviously yes. I don't even have to, necessarily answer that for you. But how?
I'm scared. I'm scared of missing a day. I'm scared of what happens. I can't quit. I don't know how much longer this will go, but I hate to think of the day this streak ends, because I don't know how that'll affect me.
Well, here, I can give you some hints on that too, because, and I'm sure you can as well, but here's the way I look at that kind of stuff. What ends up happening is you have to recognize, for all of us, right, when we're going, oh my God, I've got this thing, it works. Well, the truth is, we know how life is. So oftentimes it may stop working, or something may happen that keeps you from doing it, but the lessons remain. So if you can't walk, right, you can do Tai Chi, you can do yin type yoga, you can do some kind of movement. Almost always there's some kind of movement that you can do. One of the things I do when it's cold, we'll see what Teri does, but when it's cold, because I'm in North Carolina now, I was out in Los Angeles, and you can walk pretty much all the time. But in North Carolina, what I do is, now I have a 3-story townhome, and I will get on the phone, and I will just, whenever I'm on the phone, which I'm on the phone quite a bit, I'll walk around. I'll just walk and pace through my house. I also use sauna, and built a sauna in my house, which has some of the same mechanisms. It's a much more passive way of getting some of these benefits that walking gives you. And so when you become aware of this stuff, we may be talking to Teri in 2 years from now, and she's like, oh yeah, so what ended up happening is now I'm doing much more Tai Chi, yin type yoga, or just stretching, or yeah, Jade, I got a sauna, and I'm doing sauna cold plunge now. And these kinds of things are things that we prioritize, and they get better. So let me ask you this. So you lost a lot of weight, which is funny, because like you said, I guess the way your physique looks, I would never have known you had that much weight to lose. But I'm curious, so to what degree?
I'm lean now and cut. My arms are toned. My
it's a whole
abs
different
are
look,
showing.
right? Yeah, I imagine you look fantastic. I imagine that you look great. I haven't been able to see you in person in a while. But so because a lot of people might say, well, okay, Teri, so the walking, that was the main thing. And then what have you been doing with your diet?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
And I don't just walk. So the walking is the thing I will not miss. That's my deal breaker. And as I evolve, I do think, okay, maybe I'll get to 1,000 days and then I'll shift my goal. But my goal will probably still, I have to keep a 75-minute commitment, because that's what it takes. So and I want everyone to know, there are days I hate my walk. Okay. I don't want everyone to think I just love it every day. There are days where it is a chore and I fucking hate it, but I still do it because I know it is good for me. And I've seen what it's done for me. And then a couple days later, it's beautiful out and I go back to it and I'm happy. But to your question about the cold, that's part of the planning. So I have to plan ahead. We've had insane rain here in Southern California. So there were days where I'd be watching the weather going, it's going to rain all day. Where am I going to go? So I start reaching out to friends and I'm like, do you have a treadmill? Does your building have a treadmill? Who's got a treadmill? And I literally drove to a friend's house in West Hollywood. I live in Santa Monica. I drove to his house to walk on his treadmill.
Yeah.
And he's like, damn, you're committed. I'm like, I can't quit now. But then the next day, the rain said it wasn't coming. So I went out on my walk. Well, it lied and I got completely soaked. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'll dry off as soon as I get home.
At least you're in Southern California. It's not going to be that freezing.
Right. And in Jersey, so I'm bi-coastal now. So I have a house in Jersey. My sister lives 2 blocks away, has a treadmill. I joined a gym that a friend of mine hooked me up. They charged me $30 a month. And I literally started to I went there just to walk, and then I started lifting weights there. But I don't go there to lift weights. I go there to walk, and then I'll add something on. But if I walk it outside for that day, I usually don't go to the gym and lift weights.
It's time for one of our sponsors, and this sponsor is a very exciting one and a new one, Timeline Nutrition and their supplement MitoPure. Now, if I was going to ask you what is the most important aspect of metabolism, the mitochondria would have to be tops on your list. The mitochondria are the little energy producing factories inside every single one of your cells. They take the end products of the food we eat, they break them down into cellular ATP and provide energy for the entire metabolism. And these mitochondria, if they are healthy and acting appropriately, can keep us looking good, feeling good, living longer, and functioning better. However, when they are not at optimal function, when they are burning energy in a dirty fashion, when they are damaged, they actually speed cellular aging. They speed up the aging process. We end up suffering from things like fatigue. We end up having all manner of dysfunctions, including weight loss resistance and other issues around weight loss. The mitochondria are the most important elements for the metabolism to function optimally, lose weight, age appropriately, etc. In this compound, MitoPure, that Timeline Nutrition has developed, there is a product called urolithin A. Now, urolithin A is an interesting compound because it is a postbiotic. Now, what does that mean? A postbiotic is a compound that is made from the bacteria in the gut. And so when you eat things like pomegranates, strawberries, walnuts, things with polyphenols like this, they go into the digestive tract, your gut bacteria start working on them, and they can create compounds. Urolithin A is one compound that is in the MitoPure product. It naturally occurs in nature from this bacteria in our gut that break down the polyphenols from primarily foods like pomegranates, strawberries, etc. And it can increase mitophagy in mitochondria. So you might say, well, Jade, what is mitophagy? Mitophagy is the ability for mitochondria to repair and regenerate and recycle their proteins and to stay healthy and functional and de-age. When we can stimulate mitophagy, we can keep our mitochondria functioning efficiently. We can decrease aging. We can increase energy. We can improve our ability to lose weight, function optimally, and stave off diseases of aging. This is what Timeline Nutrition has done with their MitoPure product and the urolithin A that is in it. This is a very exciting area of research. We have not had the ability to support the mitochondria in the way that we do now with this particular product. You definitely are going to want to check this out. I've been taking the product for several months now. It is one of these products that I really, really strongly recommend. To get the product MitoPure, all you have to do is go to timelinenutrition.com/next level. timelinenutrition.com/next level. And let's get back to the show.
And by the way, if you don't mind, let me just throw this in, Teri. So just in case you guys didn't, so Teri is 44. And so by the way, what's interesting about this is most women, once they hit about 35, most men too, by the way, but that age range of like 40, especially 45 up to 55, most women are hitting perimenopause, and it becomes far more difficult to make any progress. And I will say this, if I had to choose one thing that makes the difference because I worked mostly my whole career has been with women in that age range. That's my whole career, funnily enough. And it has been stress reduction, primarily walking. And so I just want to point that out because I think a lot of people, to see you, they're going to think you're younger than you are. You did mention that, but I do want to point that out because most people are going in the other direction and wondering, why doesn't this work for me? And this is one of the things that I think we can say without hesitation is really big here. But I want to know what you did with your diet, because I think a lot of people would go, okay, so she still drinks, she still enjoys herself, she's still like, so what have you done there? Has it just been sort of moderating what you're eating? Have you done, shifting the types of foods you're eating, anything like that?
And again, we're going on like 3 years here of me making these changes. But if I can remember back, the walk started me losing some weight and feeling better. And I'm not gonna lie, it's like winding up your watch or whatever, the ones that wind themselves from movement.
Yeah.
The more I move, the more energy I had to move. And people would be like, "You're the Energizer Bunny." I'd get up hungover because I drank wine the night before. So I'm not like dying hungover, but like I had wine. I wake up at 6 a.m. I walk 5 miles. I go play 18 rounds of golf, and I go drink again with the friends after the golf. And then I do it again the next day. And everyone's like, "How the hell do you do that?" Movement kept me moving. Like just by constantly moving, it was like refilling my energy and recharging me. But the more I started to do that, the more I wanted to eat healthy. Like I slowly shifted to eating a very healthy diet. And we were in COVID, we were in lockdown. So a lot of people went the wrong direction during COVID.
100%.
I actually completely revamped my life, and I'm a better person from COVID. So I take that as a win. But
did you and I talk about this, by the way, when you went through? I remember when you were going through the breakup, did we talk about the idea that these are great times, to completely revamp things? I can't remember if we talked about that or not. Yeah,
probably.
These big life shifts sometimes are the best times to rediscover ourselves and go, I'm gonna do something different because now I have more energy. When you're in a relationship, they're wonderful, but they also do take some of your energy away. I mean, usually it's good, but
it's hard to evolve yourself when you're in a partnership because they might not be evolving. So they're stuck and you want to go here and they're like, woo, and they're like pulling you. So when you're finally free, you can go, which way do I want to go? And you can maneuver faster.
I love the relationships where it's not a tug of war, but you're both kind of moving in the same direction for sure. Those are the best types.
So I don't even know where we just were, but yeah, no, I definitely seized it as an opportunity to make positive changes. And then I recently left my job in September. So I'm in the same thing. That's where I'm pivoting. I'm going to pivot in my professional life as well. So I try to always find the silver lining and a situation that might suck in the moment. I can always know that I'm going to be so much better and stronger from it. So that kind of gets me through it. But my diet turned into pretty consistent. I have coffee with half and half every morning. So the half and half gives me fat, but it essentially, for the most part, I'm fasting in the morning, but not intentionally. I want coffee. I did make a shift. I got a Keurig. So I was drinking way too much caffeine. So now my first cup is caffeinated, and then any cups I have after that are decaf. And that has very much helped my sleep. But I haven't even eaten yet. I've been up since 6 and it's 9:15 and I walked 5 miles. So when I'm done with this, my breakfast is usually 2 scrambled eggs, 2 pieces of whole wheat toast with peanut butter. And sometimes that's too much food for me. So I just have 1 piece of toast. Lunch might be tuna, might be a salad. If I ate my breakfast around 11 or 12, it might not be anything. And then dinner is chicken and veggies. So, I'm not a big fan of super boring chicken breast. So I discovered boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I lightly, using the brush, put a little bit of olive oil on both sides. So it's not like doused in olive oil, but a little bit. And then I season the shit out of it with McCormick chicken seasoning. It's game changing. Like, cover it both sides, air fry it. It's literally like fried chicken because the outside gets crispy with the seasoning.
I love how excited you are about this chicken.
Oh my gosh. I think I'm responsible for like 10% of air fryer sales since 2020. But literally the inside, the chicken's super moist because it's dark meat. And it's a little bit fattier, but there's a lot more actual vitamin and mineral that you get from the dark meat that you don't get in the chicken breast. So yeah, the chicken breast has lower calories, but I'm getting nutrients from the dark meat that I wasn't getting in the white meat. And I enjoy it. It's actually delicious. I don't feel like I'm suffering through healthy diet.
Yeah, and that's key. And actually, one of the things about that, too, that people need to understand is that if you're listening to what Teri's saying, it's funny. It's basically like she's doing things with her diet and with her lifestyle that she can keep doing. Like, people go, oh, well, the chicken is less calories. But I go, what difference does that make if it makes you eat more calories later? See what I mean? Right. So she's doing something she likes that is doable. It seems pretty simple. And it's something that she's like, no, this I can do and like to do. And that's the key.
And you can eat it every day. And you feel like I don't feel like I'm sacrificing, like you said, and then I'm going to binge later or the next night have a steak. So, I mean, when I do gain weight, I fluctuate 5 pounds. I never don't fit in my clothes. I have been able to fit in my clothes for 2 years. That to me is huge because I have fluctuated 15 to 20 pounds in my life. But you know, if I'm gaining a little bit of weight, it's because I was eating out too much. I wasn't eating my healthy diet. I never stopped walking, but also, you know, my daily routine, I do 10 minutes of core. I literally set a timer and I don't stop doing core for 10 minutes and I do 50 push-ups. Yeah. And those are usually my minimum. And then if I have more time, I'll lift weights, I'll ride Peloton, I'll do other stuff. So now we're looking at a 2-hour workout in a day between the walk and all of that. I don't always have time for that. But yeah, so the push-ups and the core have helped the physique, but the diet, even with doing all of that, when I'm eating out too much and I'm not eating my at-home regimen, that's when I start to go up.
Mm-hmm. So by the way,
but I also the
notice with
vegetables.
menses too? Do you notice with menses that you shift? Are you still menstruating? I assume you are, but perhaps not. I don't know if you want to.
Well, I have an IUD, and so I'm not supposed to be, but I still do. So.
And do you notice the shift with that? Because I know a lot of women will be, you know, that will discourage them. And I always say, look, I mean, that's kind of normal for some women with menses. It will fluctuate a little bit, and you have to kind of ride that. Otherwise, you know, if there's going to be fluctuations, and you need to be, you know, sort of aware of that. And you seem to be aware of that. And the other thing I think that's important, then just tell me if you have anything. You don't. One thing I'll say, and tell me if you have anything to add to this, but I think it's important as those of you who listen, which I just think this is such a good, amazing transformation story, is that what we tend to do, right, is we go, oh my God, look what Teri did. And then we go, I'm going to do everything Teri did. Teri, tell me what you did. And I think the actual point that I would want to point out to people is like, no, it's not what necessarily Teri did. This is her formula. What Teri did is find her formula. You need to find your formula. Now that might include walking. It may not. It may include an air fryer. It may not. Now, one of the amazing things about this is you could do exactly what Teri does, which would be a great start. Like Teri could say, hey, do X, Y, Z, do it like this is what I did. And then a good life coach like Teri or myself is going to probably tell you, now that's just the beginning. We're going to see if it works for you. We're going to have to adjust. And what she's going to be looking for and what I'm going to be looking for is exactly what we've heard Teri sort of say over and over again. You can tell she likes this lifestyle. She is enjoying this lifestyle. This lifestyle works for her. Nothing about this lifestyle that Teri has created. She didn't find it. She created it for herself. Nothing about this lifestyle is wrong for her. It feels good. So you need to create your own. So sometimes you can copycat what I do or what Teri does, but eventually you're going to take pieces of that work for you and keep them. You're going to take pieces of that don't work for you and let them go. And then you should already know some things that already work for you. So this journey of life coaching and working with a life coach, from my perspective, is often really about helping you create the lifestyle. So Teri has created this lifestyle. And by the way, it's an evolving lifestyle. So we might talk to Teri in 2 years from now. And like we talked about, she might be doing sauna a lot and not necessarily walking as much. But now that she understands how to create this and has done this for herself, and by the way, what's really cool, Teri, is, you know, you probably already know this from working with clients, you get better and better at creating it for yourself as you get better and better helping other people create it for themselves, because you start understanding the process. And I think that's a very powerful sort of way to look at this. So I don't know, any other parting sort of wisdom or any other things you want to get into to wrap up? I just think this is such a really powerful sort of exploration. And I also want people to know how to get in touch with you, because I don't know if you're taking clients and all that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. So anyway, give us any other things you think are really important.
I will say a lot of people that have known me for a while, they would see a picture would post of me in a bathing suit and they'd be like, what are you doing? I need to know. And so,
oh my God, you look great.
Right. So to finish the diet with my chicken, it's usually 2 pieces of chicken thighs, sometimes only 1, depends on how hungry I am. That's the other thing, is I don't eat, like when I'm not hungry anymore, I stop and then that's leftovers. But I also, asparagus and broccoli are kind of like staples, and olive oil and salt. And sometimes I'll do grape tomatoes, baby portobello mushrooms, broccoli, asparagus, all of it on a baking sheet and bake it, or chop it up, olive oil, salt, throw it in the air fryer for the last 4 minutes of the chicken, and then it's all done together. I mean, I had to play around with it to see how long it took, and I have an air fryer at both homes, so each one cooks differently. So, you play around, and I figured out what worked for me. But when you find something you like, and it's like, that's for me, I found what I liked, and I made that my consistency. So it's not, what should I eat today? I already know what I'm eating. Going to the grocery store is easy. Snacks, I have blueberries in my fridge. I have prosciutto because it's not a processed meat, right? I love prosciutto. So that's always in my fridge for a quick snack. There's always hard-boiled eggs. I have the little Dash hard boiler. So if I need something on the fly, I take a hard-boiled egg with me. So planning ahead and having healthier whole snacks. Like, the goal for me is I eat real food. I don't eat packaged food as much as I can. And if you need to, if it's less than 10% of your diet, you're usually going to be okay. It's people that are eating out a lot, eating packaged food a lot, frozen food, processed food, all those preservatives that they put in. When someone else makes the food for you, it's not going to be as good as if you just bought the ingredients. So that's my big rule of thumb. And I think that has been the biggest catalyst in my weight.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more thing that I know people are going to be super interested about with you. And I think my ex-wife, Jill, who I'm super close with. Did you ever meet her? She was at CrossFit for a little bit.
I think I've met her, but I don't know her.
But so one of the things that's interesting about you and her both is both of you don't shy away from alcohol. And I know a lot of people are going to go, well, how are you doing that? And I know for Jill, it's the one vice she really likes. She does it relatively moderately, but it's been in her life, for pretty much ever. And she continues to, now she's 41, I believe. She continues to be in incredible shape. Same thing, she created her lifestyle that works for her. But anything that you want to say about that? Because I imagine people go, oh my God, she drinks alcohol. And the truth is, I know a lot of people who are super fit, super healthy, who enjoy alcohol. And it seems to me like you have these, quote, is it really a vice if it doesn't cause you to eat worse foods later and you're getting results? And do you use that to take the edge off at times? Is it just only something you do now socially, or do you still kind of, because I know Jill, she enjoys wine. She's going to have it. It's like some people enjoy chocolate, and it works for her. So I'm just curious if you have any tips for people about that, because I think coaches like you are really powerful because they're living real lifestyles. They're not like, no, you can never drink. No, you can never have chocolate. No, you can. It's like, it's everything you do allows for these things, but does it in a way that works for you. So I'm just wondering, any hints about that for people?
Yeah. And I'm going to be fully honest. I get to places where I'm like, whoa, I'm drinking too much. And I see it and I feel it. So I'm doing dry January, which I don't love, but I feel amazing. Like, I cannot believe how clear and great I feel and how leaned out my stomach is, because I was drinking way too much through the holidays. And I noticed that in my stomach. So, whenever I'm trying to tone my abs, I cut alcohol. I mean, you can't, it's really hard. You can maybe have a glass of wine, but you can't drink freely if you're trying to really pop out the abs. Maintaining is different than achieving, right? When you're trying to lose weight, you have to be in a deficit. To maintain, you can be at level. So there are times where I have to pull back on alcohol for if I have physical goals. But for the most part, it is finding that balance. I don't crave sugar. I don't like sugar. I'm a salt person. I get sugar from alcohol. So therefore, at dinner, if somebody wants dessert, I have to have dessert. I get another glass of wine. I don't want the dessert. And I will tell you, I'm eating a gelato at night because I'm not drinking. Yeah. And I never have gelato.
So for you, that's worse. Yeah.
I'm hating it, but it's like filling that craving or that those sugar calories I'm not getting from the wine. But I also know that in the summer, a lot of birthday parties and barbecues. And for me, when I eat too much sugar and processed food and nitrates and just all of that, the next day I will wake up with swollen joints. It literally physically affects my body, and I see it. And that also keeps me from eating that way, because I know, just like when you drink too much alcohol, you feel like crap the next day. When you eat crap, a lot of us, we haven't realized how much it physically affects our bodies until you clean it up. Once you're eating clean and you have a glass of wine, not a margarita. I do love a good margarita, don't get me wrong, but I can't drink a margarita every day. I can have a Sauvignon Blanc, maybe a Cabernet, but like those are cleaner alcohols than mixed drinks that have juices and fruits and all that sugar. Yeah. So even just choosing what you're drinking is a big thing, but
yeah, so there's a creation process that happens around that as well. And that's what I kind of wanted people to see, that that's something you choose to have. You work around it. You notice when you're doing too much. You've created certain, sort of things around that. And it sounds like for you, you know that if you don't have that, it acts kind of as a buffer food for you. You might end up eating worse and more. And so I think that's important to know. So anyway, my family's here and I'm in Costa Rica. I told Teri, so me and Teri jumped on real quick to do this, and we're getting ready to run to the beach. But before we hang up, and you and I have to have a separate conversation because we wanted to talk about some life coaching stuff. So maybe we'll do another one of these and share it with everybody. But tell everybody where they can find you, because I know you have some openings for clients. So if someone wanted to work with you and, follow you on social and all that, where can they meet you and hang out with you?
Yeah. TeriMurray.com is my website. So it's TeriMurray. And then my Insta is at Teri Murray Coaching, which is TeriMurray. And I'm writing this in the chat.
Yeah.
Coaching.
So Teri Murray, it's TeriMurray.com and at Teri Murray Coaching, in case, because I was getting a little bit of feedback there, but this we use Riverside FM, by the way. So hopefully, Teri, you're recording and we got you. But that's great.
I put it in the
chat for me. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna run, but I love you, my friend. It's so good to see you, and I'll text you I'll text you when we get back from the beach, and then we can set up a different call to talk shop, and maybe we'll do it live for people as well. But you're amazing. Good to see you. I miss you. Love you too. Mwah. See you, my friend.
Have fun.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Next Level Human podcast with Dr. Jade Tita. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe and consider leaving a review. You make the biggest difference when you pass on your lessons and inspire others. That's why reviews like this are so powerful. Your words may be the only ones that resonate for someone else. Please remember, the information in this podcast is for educational purposes only. Always consult your personal physician or therapist before making any lifestyle changes. And finally, thank you for who you are in the world and the difference you make.